everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we will be talking about carbohydrates and their role in energy and also how we use those for exercise. So, carbohydrates, they're going to be the body's preferred source of energy, and we measure carbs based on their glycemic index. So some foods are going to be higher in glycemic index, and some foods are going to be lower in glycemic index. And what glycemic index means is the spike of insulin in the blood when we consume carb that is really high on the glycemic index. Is going to take our blood sugar up, and our insulin is going to go up. And we eat something that is lower on the glycemic index, it's going to not have such a spike. It's going to oftentimes be higher in protein or higher in fiber, and it's going to offset some of that insulin spike, and it's going to be a little bit more of a steady release of insulin. A complex carb is going to be a longer chain of glucose, and also known as sugar, and they're going to be found in things like oatmeal and quinoa, rice, more like brown rice, and then we have simple sugars, and then we have white rice there, and then we'll have like dried fruits in there. Gatorade fits into the bunch on that. White bread will fall in there. Even sweet potatoes and potatoes will fall into. So there are different ways that we can know where they are within the glycemic index scale. So I'll post a link to that so you can check things out and see where they fall. Maybe you'll find out something new of what you thought might have been a simple carb, and maybe it's actually a complex carb, or vice versa. So go ahead and check out that list. But when we're talking about exercise, it's important that we can time some of these things out for our refueling or fueling in advance. So what we have within our selection of food here, we have some lower glycemic index foods. So as you know, I like to use my hand portion guides. So we use a cupped handful of carbs to measure a serving, and usually you're going to get 1 to 2 of those per day, or per meal, sorry. And a piece of fruit will count for a cupped handful. So a banana falls into the lower end of the scale. That would be a cupped handful. We also have some oatmeal in here, so this would fall into, I usually eat about that as a serving, and it's just some oatmeal. Made it 2 days ago, and it's great to make in advance because you can store it and then eat it for breakfast, and you don't have to make breakfast every morning. And then I have some quinoa here, and this is also great to have on hand because you can prep some quinoa, have it in a batch, and you can go ahead and toss it in with some other veggies. Maybe throw some protein in there, and maybe throw a quick piece of avocado, and then you have a full meal because you're covering all your bases there. So they're going to be on our lower end. There's some pineapple here, another cupped handful. Nice to have pineapple in the fridge as well. It's nice and cold. It's cut. Getting into the warmer months, and it's just really nice to have because it's a little hydrating, and it's just delicious right now. So these are gonna be like our lower ends. I have a little cup of mixed berries. This will also fall into the lower ends. I got strawberries and blueberries here, and just a little cupped handful. It's really easy to measure. 1 or 2 of these. So you can just pour it into your hand and see if it fits, and if it's too much, you can just dump a little bit back into your container. It's nice to have these things prepped though, because then we can just go about our day, we can grab what we need, and we don't have to sit here and measure things out or wonder or guess as to what quantities we need to eat. It's a real simple, quick way that really does work, and it gets great results. So within these foods, and what makes these foods a little bit higher up on the list for the glycemic index, or lower on the list for the glycemic index, is going to be the fiber content. So these with low glycemic index are high in fiber. So that fiber is going to help us slow down the sugar load into the bloodstream. So the glycemic index is really just about how much does the blood sugar spike up after we eat a carbohydrate. And things like Gatorade is going to have a high glycemic load. This is an organic Gatorade, which is a great go if you're going to drink Gatorade. Get something that doesn't have the dyes. We use this for training because it's going to spike the sugar up faster. So it's going to help us replenish depleted sugar cells or glycogen stores much faster than if you ate some oatmeal. So it's a matter of just timing those things out. And again, we'll post that glycemic index list so you can reference that. So when we go into things like exercise and we're trying to utilize our carbs and trying to be really in tune with that, so we have good workouts and we recover really well, timing our carbs and really just our meals in general is really helpful. So before a bout of exercise, anywhere from 1 to 3 hours is going to be a good time to eat those nutrients. So getting carbs. If you're outside of that window, you can get some fats in there. Like within 1 to 3 hours, you can get some carbs, fats, and I would do some protein. That way, you have a full balanced meal. You're going to go into your workout feeling satiated. You're going to already be digesting that meal, and that's going to leave you feeling good throughout the duration of it. And then if your exercise bout is going to be extended beyond 60 minutes, say you're doing like a long cardio session or you have a long session of lifting, then we're going to want to eat 30 to 60 grams per 60 minutes of exercise. So say you plan on a 2-hour workout. If you do have that in mind, then you should start eating some carbs, maybe not the whole amount of 30 grams at once, but maybe just taking like 15 to 20 grams, every 20 minutes and try to get that in. If it's just going to be 60 minutes, you don't necessarily have to. If it's just an hour and 10 minutes, you don't necessarily have to eat. But if you're planning that 2-hour workout, then plan for some food in there, because that's going to help you replenish while you're working out. That helps us avoid hitting the proverbial wall. If you run out of energy, you're an hour and a half in, 2 hours in, glycogen stores are depleted, then things just start to shut down and not function as well. And they don't want to give you that last rep or give you the last few miles on your cardio bout. So timing that out is really important. And then if you did not eat within that time and you're an hour and a half into exercise, a 90-minute rule is that if we hit 90 minutes of exercise, then we're going to want to eat some simple carbs within the first half hour to an hour of doing that, just to replenish our glycogen stores. And I have 2 examples of some things that are really high on the glycemic index. So I have some sweet potatoes here that I peeled and I baked off yesterday. Really good. Just mixed it in with some cinnamon. I did a little smoky paprika and They are really, really tasty. And they're high on the glycemic index. It's not a bad thing for something to be high on the glycemic index. Remember, it just means how fast that blood sugar is going to kind of go up. So sometimes when you're really down and depleted, you need it to go up faster. So knowing what's going to be a good grab real quick to get you feeling back to steady, that's a good thing. You know, if we have too many things that are like high in the glycemic index, and it's always spiking our insulin up, that's not necessarily a good thing. We want to use that around exercise. And if we have our blood sugar always spiking high on insulin, that is going to increase our risk for different metabolic diseases. So definitely something to consider. So like eating white bread and white pastas, that's going to spike it up all the time. And say you're not using it, it's going to have the tendency to make us kind of gain weight, and also other side effects of cardiovascular issues can come along with that insulin spiked up. Definitely something to consider. But timing your nutrients out like that, you know, if you just got done running, you know, an hour and a half, and you reach for like a white bread sandwich, you know, the white bread PB&J might not be the worst thing right after you finish a long bout like that, because it's going to spike up fast. But when it comes to that, we do have to understand that nutritional value of white bread is not as great as our whole grain bread, right? So things to consider when you're making choices like that for nutrition. And then there is a rank in between of like a medium glycemic index, and that is, the only thing I have on that is coconut water. I do like coconut water. I use this around exercise too, because it's hydrating. It does get the blood sugar up relatively quick. Not as fast as maybe Gatorade, but if you keep yourself in a place where like things are pretty steady, like it doesn't have to spike as fast. So that's something to consider. And then we're going to go back into fiber just for a second. So we have two different kinds of fiber. You have soluble fiber and then insoluble fiber. We won't get too deep into the differences between that. We do want to have both in our diet. We're going to get that pretty good if we're eating our fruits, and if we're eating our vegetables, and we're eating like whole grains, then we'll end up getting that in. And the thing about fiber is it's part of the plant that we don't actually digest, but what it does is going to help provide bulk to our stools, which is going to help us go to the bathroom, and it's going to help us absorb nutrients, and then it's going to help get rid of the waste byproduct, which is a really important thing to being just a regular smooth flowing mechanism there. So what happens is most people are not eating the right nutrients on a regular basis, and they're just missing out on that fiber. Most people don't get enough, and it's a recommended 25 to 35 grams a day, and a lot of people don't hit that, and it's mainly because they're eating white breads, white pastas, and you can sub some of these things out and continue to eat similar and just increase how much you're actually getting in just by changing over to maybe a lentil pasta, or switching over to whole grains, or, you know, switching from eating ice cream to eating, you know, some fruit as a dessert a couple nights a week. Just little things. It doesn't sound too crazy when you think about the benefits of it. When you're in a habit of eating ice cream, you know, every night, then it might be a little challenging. You might have to just cut back, you know, and start with 2 nights a week, I'm going to start eating fruit. 3 nights a week, I'm going to be eating fruit. And just kind of switching that over. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. That's the biggest thing. You know, getting your mind wrapped around first quantities, I think, is a big part of it. Kind of getting your mind wrapped around how much am I supposed to be eating, that cupped handful for carbs, and it's going to be maybe 1 to 2 per meal. Everybody's going to be different. I get 9 total in a day. If I have a really long exercise bout, I might bump up 1 more cup, handful. A lot of the energy that we're going to go through is going to be carbohydrates, so if we wear a heart rate monitor and it tells us how much we burn, we can calculate if we need extra. If you know your basal metabolic rate, and then you know how much calories you burn. Most of what you're going to need to replenish is going to just be in carbohydrate form. So there is that stuff, and then we want to go ahead and just try to make those little adjustments and make them small, so you can, A, keep them, and B, that they're not going to be extremely difficult to make, right? And that's what I like to think about, is just making tiny adjustments all along the way, and that is going to provide you the longevity that you want to get results to take you to a healthier lifestyle. And then that's really what it's about. It's not about a quick crash diet. It's about learning how to take in proper nutrients. It's about learning how to modify to make it work for your lifestyle and to get you where you want to be, and finding that happy balance. So it's going to be different for everybody, and everybody has to explore these things for themselves. And once you get on that journey, there's a lot of cool stuff you can learn. There's a lot of interesting ways you can combine different things. So I highly recommend, just trying new things out. Try something you maybe never tried before. Maybe you never really ate like cream of wheat, or maybe you never had some kind of different piece of fruit. Maybe you don't eat kiwi because you just never tried it. And you can try something out that's new, and you might find that you really, really enjoy a piece of kiwi. So it's definitely something that is worth exploring, and it's just another way of educating yourself and being healthy. And that is what it's really about, is just continually learning to improve upon the ways we've done things and do things, and we're just going to keep getting better at it. That's the goal, right? We just want to get a little bit better all the time, right? It doesn't have to be like a pressure thing to be better. It just is a desire to just get just a little bit better, just improvement, because we can feel better, we can have better energy, and we can be more productive, we can be better friends to our friends, and better mates to our mates. And that's a big part of it too, is having the energy to just participate in life the way you want to participate in life. And it starts with our nutrition, I believe. Understanding this stuff is a big part of it, and it's not really that much to think about. Just go back to the cupped handful, right? At least you won't overindulge. When we overdo it in carbs, we're storing, and we don't want to store excess, because it's just going to slow us down. We just want to bring it in, consume it, digest it, use it, and then we're going to get rid of the byproduct, and we're going to use fiber to help us do that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope this has shown you some ways to look at it, and it's given you some ideas, and I hope it made you hungry to be healthy. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in.